Perhaps you have noticed how sometimes, even in the closest relationships, something inside a woman remains shielded, guarded, a tender, sacred part of her being that doesn't quite allow itself to fully relax, to truly soften. It's not a conscious decision, often, more like a quiet resistance, a subtle holding back, even when her heart yearns for closeness. Have you felt it? That whisper of an unspoken boundary, a delicate veil drawn across her deepest self. It's not a rejection, not a lack of love. It's something far more profound, a silent language, a hidden wisdom. We speak of intimacy as a merging, a giving of self, and yet for many women, the path to that complete surrender can feel obstructed, not by walls of anger or indifference, but by something far more intricate, something woven into the very fabric of her experience. To soften, truly soften, is to become permeable, to open the deepest chambers of the heart, to let down the internal scaffolding that has, perhaps for so long, held her upright. It means to trust that the ground beneath her will remain solid, even as she melts into it. It means to allow herself to be seen, not just with the eyes, but with the soul, to be received, to be held, without needing to hold back. This capacity for softness, it is not a weakness, it is her immense strength, her receptivity, her very essence. When a woman breathes deeply, life breathes with her. When she allows herself to soften, the entire world around her can feel its gentle embrace. So why then does this natural, profound capacity sometimes remain unaccessed? Why does a woman, even in a loving union, sometimes feel unable to release that subtle tension in her shoulders, in her jaw, in the very core of her being? Why does that tender, sacred part of her not allow itself to simply be? It is often a story, a long, silent narrative of moments when softness was met with misunderstanding, when vulnerability was mistaken for frailty, when her open heart was not seen, or worse, not honored. The world, you see, can be a harsh teacher. It often demands strength, resilience, a certain armor. For a woman to navigate this world, she learns to construct subtle defenses, layers of self-protection, not to push others away, but to keep her own delicate flame from being extinguished, to protect the very wellspring of her being. This isn't a flaw. It is a deep, often unconscious mechanism of protection, a quiet intelligence within her that remembers. It remembers the times she needed to be strong, the times she had to stand alone, the times her tenderness was perhaps too much for the world to handle. Imagine the subtle currents of energy within her, life-giving, creative, sacred. When this energy flows freely, she is vibrant, she is radiant, she is deeply connected to her own truth. But when the experience of life suggests that openness might be unsafe, then this flow, it learns to adapt, it learns to guard itself.
When energy is blocked, we don't lose sex, we lose vitality. We lose that deep, resonant hum that connects us to our own life force. For a woman, if the pathways to her softening are guarded, then the very current of her sensuality, her creativity, her joy can become muted. It doesn't disappear, it simply flows inward, seeking a safer harbor within her own depths. She builds a sanctuary within herself, a place where that exquisite softness can exist, untainted. But the key to that sanctuary, it is not easily given. It requires a profound sense of safety, a trust that is felt, not just spoken, a quiet knowing that she can lay down her armor and still be held, still be cherished, still be seen in her full, magnificent truth. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding. For a man, to truly understand this is to offer not just strength, but gentleness, not just passion, but reverence. It is to create a space where her vulnerability is not just tolerated, but celebrated, where her quiet resistance is met not with frustration, but with patience, with a deep, unwavering presence. For a woman, it is an invitation to gently inquire within herself, to listen to the whispers of her own body, to understand the story her energy is telling. Why is she holding back? What does that tender part of her need to feel to begin to unfurl? This softening, it is not something that can be forced. It is an opening, like a flower unfurling its petals to the sun. It happens when the light feels warm enough, when the air feels safe enough, when the trust is so profound it feels like the very earth beneath her. Between a man and a woman flows not just passion, but life itself. And for that life to truly blossom, both must feel safe enough to be fully themselves. For her, that often means feeling safe enough to shed the layers, to release the ancient need to protect, and to simply be. It is a sacred journey, a journey back to the innate wisdom of her own heart, a quiet unfolding when the time is right, when the space is truly held. Feel this, understand this. It is not a deficiency, it is a deep, protective grace. And within that grace lies the profound potential for her to finally, deeply, beautifully soften, to bloom, to simply be. We speak of passion, of desire, of the yearning that draws us closer. But sometimes when we reach for that connection, we find an invisible barrier, a subtle resistance. And for a woman especially, this can manifest as an inability to simply soften, to let down her guard, to fully surrender to the natural flow of life that wishes to move through her. Have you ever wondered why this happens? Why a woman who perhaps deeply desires intimacy and connection holds back a part of herself? It's rarely a conscious choice, rarely an act of defiance. It is far more profound. It is often the silent symphony of her past, the echo of unacknowledged wounds, and the current landscape of her world, all conspiring to build walls around her most tender essence.
Within her, a silent guardian stands sentinel, a fear of vulnerability. To soften is to become exposed, to open oneself to the possibility of being seen, truly seen, in all her glorious imperfection. And with that seeing comes the risk of judgment, of misunderstanding, of rejection. Perhaps she has known moments where her heart, offered freely, was met with indifference, or worse, with a careless hand that bruised what she held most sacred. The memory of such moments can create an inner fortress designed not to keep others out, but to keep her own delicate self safe from further harm. She remembers the pain, and her system, in its ancient wisdom, seeks to avoid a repeat. She might carry the burden of expectations, silently, invisibly. The world often demands much from her, to be strong, to be capable, to be the bedrock for others, to constantly navigate roles, daughter, partner, mother, professional, each with its own silent curriculum. When the inner dialogue is constantly about doing and being strong, the space for simply being, for the gentle unfurling of her true nature, shrinks. The energy that would flow into softness is instead redirected, used to uphold these various facades, to meet these endless demands. It is exhausting work, this constant maintenance of strength. And then there is the deepest fear, the fear of not being understood, of her subtle language being misinterpreted, or her deepest feelings being dismissed. A woman's sensual energy is not merely physical, it is a profound current of emotion, intuition, creativity. It speaks in whispers, in nuances, in unspoken invitations. If these whispers have been met with blank stares, with impatience, or with a dismissive wave of the hand, she learns to silence them. She learns to keep her interior world, with all its rich tapestry of feeling hidden. Why offer a pearl to someone who sees only a stone? These internal landscapes are further shaped by the world around her. She yearns to be seen, truly seen, beyond her roles, beyond her beauty, beyond her accomplishments. She longs to be heard, not just her words, but the silent language of her soul. She desires to be appreciated, not for what she does, but for who she is. And when these fundamental needs are unmet, when she feels unseen, unheard, unappreciated in the subtle, profound ways that matter most, another layer of protection descends. It is like trying to bloom in a dark room. The light she needs to open simply isn't there. The environment, too, plays its part. Is the space around her safe enough for her to relax her guard? Does she feel trust in the air, a sense of gentle acceptance, free from judgment or criticism? Or is there a subtle undercurrent of tension, of unaddressed issues, of a lack of genuine emotional safety that compels her to remain vigilant? The constant need to protect herself, to anticipate, to brace for impact, drains her. It consumes the very energy that would otherwise flow freely, lovingly, sensually. These are the invisible walls. They are not made of brick and mortar, but of experience, of fear, of unmet longing. And when these walls become too high, too thick, when energy is blocked, we don't lose sex, we lose vitality. We lose the vibrant current that fuels creativity, that inspires compassion, that makes life feel rich and meaningful. The natural ebb and flow of life within her becomes stagnant. Her senses dull, her creative spark may dim, and a quiet weariness can settle deep in her bones. She doesn't just lose intimacy, she loses a piece of her own essence, her life force, her inherent joy.
Consider this for a moment. Can you feel these invisible walls within yourself? Or perhaps can you sense them in the woman you cherish? It is not about blame or judgment, but simply about understanding. To recognize that her guardedness is not a rejection of you, but often a deeply ingrained strategy for self-preservation. It is the story of her soul, etched in the subtle ways she holds herself back. Her life energy, that sacred current, is not lost. It is simply redirected, held captive behind these protective barriers. And the first step toward releasing it, toward inviting her to soften once more, is simply to see these walls, to acknowledge them with quiet reverence for the stories they tell. We often misunderstand softness. We've been taught to see it as a vulnerability, a yielding to weakness. But what if softness is in fact the most profound strength a woman possesses? Not a lack of resolve, but a different kind of power, a power that doesn't conquer, but contains. Consider the river. It carves canyons, yet it is utterly soft, fluid, yielding. Its power lies in its persistent flow, its unwavering path. This is the essence of true feminine softness. It is not fragility, it is receptivity, an open channel, a profound ability to receive the world, to take it in, to transform it. This softness, it is the intuition that guides, the wisdom that whispers. It is the deep knowing current beneath the surface of thought. It allows for creation, for the bringing forth of life, whether that be a child, an idea, or a new way of being. It is the capacity for deep acceptance, for holding space, for nurturing what is tender. Think of the breath. When a woman breathes deeply, truly deeply, life breathes with her. Her body becomes a sanctuary for this vital current. And in this surrender, in this gentle opening, she doesn't diminish, she expands. She connects to something vast, something ancient and eternal.
Between a man and a woman, there flows not just passion, but life itself, a sacred current. When this current is allowed to move freely, without fear or constriction, it becomes a source of immense vitality. It heals, it inspires, it elevates, it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. But for this flow to exist, for this sacred current to awaken, there must be a feeling of safety, a deep, unwavering knowing that her softness will not be exploited, but honored, that her fluidity will not be contained, but celebrated. When she feels truly safe, her softness becomes a living wellspring. It nourishes not only herself, but everyone around her. It is a magnetic force, not because it demands, but because it radiates. It is the quiet power of creation, bubbling up from within, inviting the world to lean closer, to listen to the ancient song of life. This softness, it is the intuition dance of the earth, the gentle pull of the moon. It is the very pulse of creation. It is a force that is meant to flow, to adapt, to renew. When it is honored, it brings a profound sense of peace, a deep inner harmony. Perhaps we have been seeking strength in the wrong places, in rigidity, in control, but true strength, the kind that sustains and endures, often resides in the most supple places.
In the capacity to bend without breaking, to flow without losing form. A woman's softness is her connection to the universal stream. It is her natural state of grace. It is how she embodies the creative principle of the cosmos. And when she allows herself to fully inhabit this softness, she doesn't just soften her body, she softens the world around her. She opens a pathway for healing, for inspiration, for the profound mystery of life to unfold. It is a gentle unveiling, a quiet remembering. The energy within you has never died. It's been waiting for you to awaken.
We've seen how the armor, once a necessity for protection, forged in moments of vulnerability, can over time become a cage. A beautiful, intricate cage, perhaps, crafted with good intentions, but a cage nonetheless, keeping the most tender, most vital parts of her hidden, even from herself. But now, as the evening deepens, as a profound stillness settles around us, let us turn our gaze not to what has been lost, but to what simply awaits rediscovery. For the essence of her being, the profound, inherent capacity for trust, for yielding, for the deep, sensual unfolding, this is not something that ever truly vanishes. It is not a fragile bloom that withers forever at the first sign of frost. No, it is far more resilient, far more eternal. It is a fundamental truth of existence, etched into her very soul. Imagine, if you will, a deep underground river. Its surface may be frozen over, hardened by seasons of necessity, by the chill winds of disappointment, by the weight of unspoken fears. Perhaps debris has settled, slowly, silently, obscuring its flow, making it seem as though the water has ceased to move, ceased to be. But the river itself, the living, vital current, it remains, it always remains, pulsing quietly beneath the surface, patient, waiting for the warmth, the gentle touch, the remembering that will allow it to break free once more, to rush forth with renewed vigor. Think of the earth in the deepest winter, barren, silent, seemingly asleep beneath a blanket of snow. There is no visible sign of growth, no vibrant color to catch the eye. Yet beneath that frozen crust, life is simply gathering its strength. The seeds lie dormant, not dead, holding within them the blueprint of future forests. The roots burrow deep, drawing sustenance, preparing for the inevitable thaw, for the glorious, unstoppable awakening of spring. So it is with the feminine heart. that innate desire to yield, to open, to receive, that sacred current of life itself, it is never truly lost. It is an essential thread woven into the very fabric of her being, a divine blueprint that cannot be erased, only forgotten for a time. This softness, this willingness to trust, it is not weakness. Oh, how deeply we have misunderstood this profound truth for so long across so many cultures. True softness requires an immense, unwavering strength. It is the strength to be vulnerable, to lay down the shield, to stand in one's own truth without defense. It is the strength to let go of control, to surrender to the unfolding mystery of life, to trust the unseen currents that guide us. It is the courage to stand naked, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, before another, or before the vast, unknowable currents of existence itself. It is the quiet, fierce power to say, "Here I am, unadorned, unprotected, and whole, and utterly, completely enough." When a woman allows herself to soften, she is not surrendering her power in any diminished sense. On the contrary, she is accessing its deepest, most authentic source. She is opening herself to the vast creative wellspring that resides within her very core. This is where the magic begins to stir, where the dormant energies awaken. This is where true healing takes root, not just for her in the quiet chambers of her soul, but for all those she touches, for the very space she inhabits. This is where the currents of life, once blocked, once stagnant, begin to flow again, freely, abundantly, bringing with them renewal and vibrancy.
Consider a flower, tightly budded, protecting its delicate petals from the harsh elements, from the too bright sun, from the sudden storm. It serves its purpose, a necessary phase of guarded growth. But the true beauty, the intoxicating fragrance that draws life to it, the ability to fully absorb light and nurture, to attract the pollinators, to fulfill its highest expression, that comes only when it dares to unfurl, petal by petal, releasing its unique, sacred essence to the world, breathing, expanding, becoming. In that unfolding, it offers its greatest gift. So it is with her. When she softens, she reveals not just the exquisite landscape of herself, but a profound, ancient truth about existence, about connection. She becomes a conduit for pure joy, overflowing and contagious, for boundless compassion, extending to every corner of her world, for an intuitive, deep wisdom that pulses through all living things, connecting her to the very heartbeat of the universe. She becomes an embodiment of the very current of life itself, creative, healing, sacred, a living temple of grace. This softening, it is a homecoming, a gentle, profound return to a state of grace that was always hers, waiting patiently for her remembrance, for her gentle hand to uncover it. It is the quiet understanding that she is safe, safe within herself, in the deep well of her being, safe within the vast, loving embrace of the universe, which longs for her to bloom, to express her full, radiant splendor. It is the sacred invitation from her soul to her body to finally align, to finally dance in harmony once more, creating a symphony of self. And in this radiant blooming, she enriches everything around her. Her touch becomes more gentle, more knowing, more profoundly resonant, capable of conveying volumes without a single word. Her gaze becomes more luminous, holding worlds within its depth, seeing beyond the surface. Her very presence seems to hum with a subtle, vibrant energy, drawing others closer, inviting them into a space of authentic connection, of shared humanity. Her relationships deepen, finding new layers of intimacy and understanding, built on a foundation of trust and openness. Her creativity, once perhaps stifled or hesitant, flows unimpeded, becoming a powerful force for creation in her life and in the lives of others, inspiring those around her.
Her entire being becomes an eloquent invitation for life itself to express its boundless beauty, its sacred potential, through her. Between a man and a woman flows not just passion, not just desire, but life itself, a current of energy that can build worlds, heal wounds, and inspire miracles. When her heart softens, when her spirit truly opens, it creates a sanctuary where that life can truly flourish, where it can gather momentum and grace, becoming a vibrant, shared tapestry, where intimacy can breathe, unbound by fear or expectation, where souls can truly meet, unafraid to be seen, unafraid to merge, unafraid to simply be in their glorious, authentic truth. It is a quiet revolution, not fought with force, with struggle, or with endless striving, but with surrender, a profound, sacred surrender to her own magnificent nature, to the natural rhythm of her own breath, which is the rhythm of life itself, to the sacred song of her own body, which yearns to be felt, to be honored, to be truly alive and expressed. This is not a task you must conquer, not a destination you must reach through effort. It is a remembrance you must allow, a gentle turning inward.
A listening to the quiet, insistent call of the heart, which has never stopped speaking, even in the deepest silence, even behind the thickest walls. The warmth you seek, the profound connection you long for, the inspiration that seems to have faded, it begins here, within that silent, waiting space inside you, within the deep knowing that your truest self has been patiently holding this treasure for you all along. It has never been lost. Allow yourself this peace, this profound knowing that the treasure of your innate trust, your tender spirit, your boundless capacity for love, for life, for creation, it has always been there, whole and inviolable. It is simply waiting for your gentle hand to uncover it, for your quiet attention to awaken it, for your intention to invite it forth. It is a gift, not just to yourself in the quiet solitude of your being, but to every life you touch, to every relationship you nurture, to the very fabric of the world around you, a world that yearns, perhaps more than ever, for the authentic, radiant expression of the feminine heart, for its wisdom, for its healing, for its profound, unshakable love, which is the very essence of life itself. Let the fear dissolve, like mist before the gentle, persistent rising sun. Let the armor fall away, piece by gentle, deliberate piece, revealing the radiant core beneath. There is nothing to guard, nothing to defend, when you are anchored in the deep, unshakable strength of your own softness, when you are rooted in the sacred ground of who you truly are, a being of light and grace. A man doesn't lose power when he ages. He loses it when he stops looking with wonder, when he stops seeing the miraculous in the mundane, when he closes his heart to the new. And a woman never loses her inherent capacity to soften, to yield, to embody the living current of grace. She simply needs to remember the wonder of it, the sacredness, the profound, quiet power that lies within that very act of opening, of allowing. Desire, in its purest form, is not the body calling for fleeting sensation. It is the soul singing its deepest longing for connection, for wholeness, for the divine dance of life, for the sacred merging of energies. And when the soul feels safe enough to sing, to express its full, untamed melody, its harmony can indeed heal worlds, one tender heart at a time, one awakened spirit at a time. This is your truth. This is your birthright. To embody this flow, to trust this unfolding, to live from this profound awakened center, where softness is strength and vulnerability is power. Love, feel, breathe. The energy within you has never died. It's been waiting for you to awaken.